So hi, I'm Ben Kaube. I'm one of the co-founders of Cassyni. And today I'd like to spend a few minutes talking to you about the exciting opportunity of indexing the world's research talks. So what do I mean by research talks? Well, a little bit abstractly, you can think of research talks as a public articulation of research in time and place. But more practically, it's something like what we're doing right now. It's something like a conference talk, an invited talk, a seminar. It could be a panel discussion, or even something like a performance. It's the sort of research outputs that get generated at meetings like this one, but also at at institutions, and increasingly also at journals in the form of author seminar series. Now, the really exciting opportunity is to think that there's more than 1 million of these activities happening every year, but many of those aren't currently being captured or made part of the scholarly record. So let's maybe dive into that opportunity in a bit more detail. One way to motivate that is to think about different manifestations of the same research. On the right-hand side, you can see a 12-page manuscript. On the left-hand side, you can see that same research, but in the form of a video seminar, a 12-minute presentation that was given by the author. And what might not surprise you is that the next generation of researchers, in particular millennials or Gen Z researchers, are increasingly gravitating towards the video content. But I think across all generations of researchers, there's recognition that text plus video is really powerful, especially when it comes to explaining complicated ideas. I think the really big unlock here has come in the form of AI, being able to break up long-form video content and add structure. So things like automatic chapterizations, automatic summaries, things like transcriptions, multilingual captions, but also things like breaking up long-form content into snackable shorts, things that can really drive discovery and engagement. Practically, what this means for journals is that they can have really good showcases for the work being published there. They can show off different articles and give their authors a bigger platform to grow their downloads and citations. For institutions, this can really be exciting also, because you can think about video as being a great showcase of the expertise of that institution. Think about profile pages enriched with researcher videos, where they talk about what they're doing as a way to attract collaborators, attract funders, but also attract students. And for funders, of course, thinking about ways of translating that research and increasing its impact is really important, and video can be the ideal medium for that. So we've talked a bit about the content, but let's talk a little bit about the data that's being generated by each of these talks as well. So if we reflect on this session now, we're actually in the process of creating one of those data points. You can think about the speaker-related data that's being generated in the form of the graph of that speaker's research talk contributions. But you can also think about the venue associated with that research talk. So in this case, it's the researcher to reader venue, and the data that's added into the context through the form of the selection process, or how that conference is deciding which talks to feature in its program. There's also a lot of information generated through the audience. So it could be the audience that's attending live in a room, but also it could be the attention that a recording gets after the fact, which could be really interesting. But of course, if there's any questions that come up during the sessions, those questions, that discourse forms an important part of the scholarly record as well. Really important, like we're doing right now, is to record those sessions so that we have that transparency, that grounding in the recording, so you can come back and actually see exactly what took place. And that recording also offers up opportunity to use AI to extract additional metadata and information from the raw data. And then lastly, what we can do is we can assign a DOI to that talk and make sure that it integrates into the rest of the scholarly ecosystem. It can be cited, it can be discovered, and can also be used to establish precedents for ideas. So that's a single data point. Let's take a step back and think about this at scale and the sorts of use cases that get enabled when you've got many, many of these research talks being generated. One of my most exciting applications of this comes in the form of research integrity. If you think about a talk as compared to textual content, it's interesting because it's much more difficult to fake. You can't use Gen AI to produce a talk like this one here, at least not at the moment. And so that allows you to establish with confidence who said what and where it was said. One practical application of this kind of was teased out in some work that we did with the team at Clear Skies and also the Dataseer team, where we looked at a kind of selection of 10,000 open access articles. And then we scored those articles according to the risk of kind of being associated with paper mill using the Clear Skies methodology. And for each one of those papers, we looked up what open science practices the authors had undertaken. For example, had they pre-registered their studies? Had they produced any code, or had they shared their data? And then also we looked at whether or not they had given a presentation about their work using the Cassyni dataset. And then for each one of those activities, we could see if there was a reduction in the risk of that particular paper being associated with paper mill. And of all those activities, the one that spoke most strongly to the robustness of that research was giving a talk. You can see here on the chart that those articles with research presentations had a 7 times lower risk score of being associated with a paper mill. So that's just one of many applications of what you can do with the data, on top of the amazing things you could do with the content of the research talks. And if you'd like to work with us to extend the research record, to index more of these research talks, come find me afterwards, and very happy to have a chat, whether or not you're an institution, whether or not you're from a publisher, or whether or not you're from a funder. Thank you very much.